We all like to imagine that our favorite actors and actresses are great people in real life. Sure, they might play a jerk on screen once in a while, but that's just acting, right? It's what they do. Well, with great fame comes great entitlement, and some of Hollywood's finest are just plain nasty at times. Each of these actors have earned a bad rep for the way they behave between takes, be it talking down to craft services, warring with co-stars, or fighting with directors. Maybe they were all just having a bad day, over and over again. Here are a few of the big-name actors people hate working with. Katherine HEIGL. Few people have become the target of tabloid fodder as completely as Katherine HEIGL. In 2008, she publicly bashed her comedy breakout film, Knocked Up, as sexist. And she also famously declined to be considered for the Emmys because she thought the Grey's Anatomy writers didn't give her enough juicy, dramatic material to deserve a nomination. The series creator, Shonda Rhimes, said afterward to the situation, Rhimes reportedly declined an offer for HEIGL to return to the show after her character's departure. Patrick Dempsey. Katherine HEIGL wasn't the only real-life pill on the set of Grey's either.
Tom has his girlfriends.
Oh, I think I picked up yours by accident. Sorry about that.
Gloria.
Patrick Dempsey, better known as McDreamy, was also apparently suspended once for acting like a diva on set and was killed off on the show not long after that. Dempsey had reportedly clashed with Shonda Rhimes. While he later denied that there wasn't anything but goodwill between him and the cast, that story has since been hard to shake. Val Kilmer. At this point, Val Kilmer's reputation precedes him. As far as acting jerks go, Val Kilmer is right at the top of the list. Starting all the way back in 1995 with Batman Forever, Kilmer has been known for his attitude when the cameras aren't rolling. After production, director Joel Schumacher said in an interview that Val Kilmer was childish and impossible. But his words were hardly the last we'd hear from Kilmer's tough dude. After The Island of Dr. Moreau hit the theaters the very next year, director John Frankenheimer famously said, quote, "I will never climb Mount Everest, and I will never work with Val Kilmer again." End quote. Meanwhile, one of the movie's actors, Neil Young, had to say this about his antics. Noticing a pattern here? Mandy Patinkin. He might not be a household name, but you probably know his work from his unforgettable role in 1987's The Princess Bride. More recently, you may have seen him in CBS's Criminal Minds and Golden Globe-winning Showtime series Homeland.
Hello! My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
With so much success in film and television, people probably suspect that Mandy Patinkin is a pretty nice guy. But by his own admission, he can be extremely difficult to work with. Before nearly destroying his television career in 2007 by suddenly walking away from Criminal Minds and never coming back, Patinkin was already behaving like a stuck-up starlet. In a 2013 interview with the New York Times, he came clean with his sordid past on the set. Talking about the hospital drama Chicago Hope, Patinkin said, quote, "I never let directors talk to me because I was so spoiled. I was saying, don't talk to me, I don't want your opinion. I behaved abominably." End quote. Hey, at least he can admit it. Mike Myers. It's almost a circle now that comedians often have darker sides. And Mike Myers isn't immune to the pressures of being a full-time funny man. Between Wayne's World, Austin Powers, and the Love Guru, Myers' whole band is over the top, outrageously colorful characters, most of whom he's meticulously crafted himself.
Perhaps you'd like to tie your left shoelace? Mr. Tovoli here, the gentleman with the umbrella, has a fixation for such things. Underestimate no one.
He's been called a perfectionist on his good days, and on his worst, he's been dubbed emotionally needy and difficult. That characterization comes directly from Penelope Spheris, who directed Mike Myers in 1992's Wayne's World. Spheris also told the story of how Mike Myers stormed off the set once because the caterers didn't provide margarine for his bagel. Gwyneth Paltrow. It's easy enough for the internet to hate Gwyneth Paltrow, who's managed to outrage non-millionaire parents everywhere with her lifestyle blog, Goop, and has an unfortunate tendency to come across as aloof and entitled. As we hear all so often, Paltrow is one of those everyday moms, the kind who allegedly refuses to touch other people's shower water at her gym and won't use toilet paper if the roll is already unwrapped. So yeah, her apparently uptight mannerisms have earned her a starring role as a punching bag for celebrity gossip. But she's also difficult to work with for other A-listers too. According to reports from the set of 2010's Iron Man 2, Paltrow made it a point to avoid her co-star Scarlett Johansson during the whole production and then got angry when she was upstaged by Johansson during the promotional work for the film. Of course, one of her press representatives denied those claims, so it's possible that the story was simply another piece of trumped-up gossip. But when it comes to Madame Goop, who can tell? Steven Seagal. This action star was basically born to raise hell. And while he's no longer headlining big-budget features, Steven Seagal is still churning out low-budget films left and right, even though he's developed a reputation for not being the best dude around. Steven Seagal has been hit with countless allegations of sexual assault, among other charges over the years, including one by Under Siege 2 auditioner Jenny McCarthy, who said in an interview that Seagal told her to take off her dress during a private audition, despite the absence of nudity in the film. Yuck! He's also been known to flex some of his silver-screened might on his male co-stars when the cameras weren't rolling. John Leguizamo reportedly claimed that Seagal elbowed him up against a wall with a maximum conviction on the set of 1996 Executive Decision, simply because Leguizamo laughed at something Seagal said, thinking it was a joke, when it wasn't.
What proofs?
Alec Baldwin. There's no doubting that Alec Baldwin is an outspoken man, whether he's being accused of fighting paparazzi, shouting homophobic slurs, or calling his own daughter names in a leaked voicemail. His private life has a way of being shoved into the limelight on a regular basis. As a number of his co-stars have said, that's just who he is. Shia LaBeouf, who's had no shortage of conflicts all his own, more on that in a minute, famously left the Broadway show Orphans in 2013 because the two actors had clashed so often at rehearsals. And on 30 Rock, his co-star Cheyenne Jackson had one thing to say about Baldwin, quote, "What I learned from him was really good comedic timing, and don't get in his light," end quote. Bruce Willis. You may remember the time Kevin Smith described Bruce Willis as blanking soul-crushing to work with, after teaming with him for 2010's Cop Out. According to Smith, Bruce Willis was pretty much his hero until he actually worked with the guy. Meanwhile, Tears of the Sun director, Antoine Fuqua, called Bruce Willis a major pain in the ass to work with, and Sylvester Stallone seemed to have similar issues with Bruce Willis during the Expendables series. He dropped Willis for Harrison Ford in Expendables 3, and immediately after announcing the switch, he tweeted a vague, possible stab at Willis that read, quote, "greedy and lazy, a sure formula for career failure," end quote. Teri Hatcher. Desperate Housewives was as dramatic behind the scenes as it was for at-home audiences. The hot ABC show had trouble from the start, and actress Teri Hatcher, who played Susan, apparently took the brunt of the criticism from her castmates, who felt she acted like a diva.
Mr. Fielding, can I ask you a question?
Certainly, young lady, anything.
Did you know I'm double-jointed?
Hatcher's co-star Nicolette Sheridan went so far as to call her the meanest woman in the world. After the final episode of Desperate Housewives, Hatcher reportedly stated, quote, "I will never disclose the true and complicated journey of us all," end quote. It's probably just as well. Some questions are probably left best unanswered. Shia LaBeouf. For a guy who got his start playing the adorable lead in Disney's Even Stevens, Shia LaBeouf sure has shed any presumption of innocence in the years since. LaBeouf made his way to the big screen in a big way shortly after the show ended, with major blockbusters like Constantine, I, Robot, and of course, the Transformers franchise, which kicked his career straight into the stratosphere. After he reached such great heights, though, things changed very quickly, and bizarrely. Shia started taking more avant-garde roles and staged a bunch of strange publicity stunts, like wearing a paper bag that said, "I am not famous anymore," and filming himself watching all of his own movies in a row. Clearly, he wanted the world to take him seriously, but his penchant for weird antics and over-the-top method acting has begun to rub people the wrong way. He's even gotten into fistfights with at least two of his co-stars. With Tom Hardy on the set of 2012's Lawless, and again after punching Brad Pitt on 2014's war epic Fury. In both cases, his co-stars let it slide where public was concerned.
You heard of me?
What have you heard? How you're the devil.
But the production of Lawless also saw LaBeouf guzzling actual bottles of moonshine to get into character and carving his name into Mia Wasikowska's dressing room door. LaBeouf might not want to be famous anymore, but he's quickly becoming infamous. Not quite. But that reminds us, Chevy Chase. His character history might read like a who's who in Lifeable Goofs, but Chevy Chase has something of a reputation as one of the meanest men in showbiz. That rep has followed him all the way from his rock star beginnings on Saturday Night Live in the 70s up to his recent recurring gig on Community. Highlights from his worst moments include getting into a fistfight with Bill Murray and suggesting that former SNL co-star Terry Sweeney, who was openly gay, do a weak segment where he could get weighed to see if he contracted AIDS yet. It certainly seems like Chevy Chase has a penchant for rubbing people the wrong way. He even came clean about it in 2012 when he said, quote, "Nobody prepares you for what happens when you get famous, and I didn't handle it well," end quote. That may be the understatement of the decade. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, plus check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.